Sundance hangovers are actually not all that bad. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, joined by
Anthony Ray Bench.
And we survived Sundance, and you survived your very first Sundance.
Yeah, man, it was an incredible experience.
Although barely. I mean, I was just saying, like, as you're setting up all the equipment, we're getting ready to record, there is sort of this like echo, like after you've been, there's kind of, because there's a pace of Sundance that is just like, okay, every day, got to do this, and then there's parties. I got to see as many movies as I can.
Yeah.
I got to really use the time I have while I'm there. And when you get back to real life, everything just seems much slower.
Yeah, there's definitely a lull. Like it, and especially because, I mean, I mentioned this on the last podcast, like I've been suffering from food poisoning, so right. I haven't left the house.
Right.
And like literally yesterday was the first day, like I left and I just went to the grocery store to buy milk and cereal. And today, like I'm feeling fine. Like today is the first day, like I've actually been feeling good.
But most people come back from Sundance sick. You didn't get the flu.
No, and I don't have a cold or anything like that. Like I was walking around in a t-shirt the first day. Like I was wearing a coat, but yeah, like I definitely feel like it's kind of like this anxiety thing. Like I feel like I have to be somewhere,
right?
But I honestly don't. It's kind of a weird feeling.
No, but I mean, it was so great to return. But for me, it was like a. I don't know. It was kind of like just going back to a place that I sort of fell in love with it again. Mm-hmm. You know, just I hadn't been, in 5 years.
Yeah.
So came back after a 5-year absence. I mean, I've been to other film festivals, but haven't been to Sundance.
How much did it change?
It, all for the better. I think the change was all for the better. The change, mostly the way it changed was, there are more venues now, mm-hmm. which was great. I mean,
like more theaters.
Okay. There's the Mark that's new, and there were a couple others. Like it seems that they improved the venues. And the other thing was, I thought the volunteers were just better in terms of they all were informed.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
We've said it. I know it sounds like we're just kissing their ass, but but truthfully, I've had like run-ins with volunteers in the past that just didn't know something, or there was something going on.
Dude, that's like, Comic-Con, that's WonderCon, that's
just like, or someone just an overzealous
LA Comic-Con.
An overzealous security person where it's just like, look, I'm not trying to be somewhere I'm not. I'm blah, blah, then you have to tell the same story to 5 people. But they really, I don't know who managed, just everybody knows what they're doing. Okay, but that's minor detail, but worth noting. But it changed, I think, for the better in the sense that more venues, more focus on the films, more diversity in terms of the programming. Although it did bother me a couple of things, when we got back, just looking at like the number of films that like premiered there and then showed on HBO, or premiered there, or then, it was on Netflix, like that biopic, the National Lampoon biopic by David Wayne, which I thought was great, super funny, whatnot. But Sundance is being used as a launching pad to promote these films. And I think when I see that, I'm like, I feel like that has to be limited. I mean, look, I'm guessing it's not a huge percentage, but every one of those I look and I'm like, that could have been some new filmmaker we've never heard of. And they could have rolled the dice on something, But I'm, mostly I came out of it going, there are movies I wish I had seen. I really want to see Terrell. That one I want to see, which is sort of, it's not Get Out, but thematically speaking, it's in the same arena. So that one I really want to see, a bunch of others, but yeah, like, it's disappointing, you're rushing to see these films. Then you realize like, it's going to be on Netflix in a week. What am I doing? I wish I had time to do more research in advance so I could have identified those. But all in all, it proved to the better. I think that also like, I'm less stressed out because I'm not like, I've gone to Sundance in the past where I've been working for people where I did not see a movie. I did this TV show. I actually think it's on YouTube. The show called Festival Pass that I did for Stars like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I've seen clips of it.
Okay, there's clips. Anyways, so I did. So that I remember the year I went there and I interviewed Robert Redford. I interviewed Dustin Hoffman and
Judah Friedlander.
Just like Judah Fried, just tons of people. I interviewed celebrities. I didn't get to see one movie. I remember being so like upset that like that the priority wasn't for me to see films. It was to be led around by a producer who was like, now you're going to talk about this movie. And it was all movies I hadn't seen, so I had to read press notes and I hate that kind of stuff. I think it's just super phony. I mean, I did my best to kind of roll with the punches and make it a real conversation at least. I remember interviewing the guy and I saw the documentary later about Charles Bukowski and he was great. I think that clip is on YouTube, but anyway, so yeah, it was like, how is it for you the first time? Like now you've had some distance. You're not a virgin. Cause I remember, and I know we talked about it. You were filled with anxiety. I mean, you were stressed out and it really was because you didn't know what you were doing, where you're going. Now you've had some perspective and a few days to decompress and to get sick and off the toilet, get better than from being sick. What, how do you feel now?
Yeah. It reminded me of my first Comic-Con. I didn't know what I was getting into. I mean, I don't think anything can prepare you, but once you get there, it's not as bad as you think it will be. Like the transportation system was really easy to figure out. I mean, like I really took to it. Like I probably took about like 4 Ubers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So kind of figuring out the lay of the land was a big deal for me. And it was so easy to figure out. And figuring like out how to kind of navigate with the publicists and get free tickets and make sure that you can get into the screenings. Like, I don't think I waited in a wait list like at all during my trip. And I saw every single movie that I intended to see except for like 2 of them.
Right.
And that was a mix. That
always happens.
Yeah.
It always happens that there'll be like the best laid plans will go awry because you make a plan. You're like, oh, I'm going to see these. And I was having a conversation with John Bernstein, who was on a previous episode of our Sundance coverage.
Yeah, with Natalia.
Yeah. So he and I were going over like, there have been years where it's like, I totally mapped it out and these are the movies I'm seeing and the times they are. And I know I can take the bus from this shuttle. I'll take it. I will definitely make it, and that's, and then you can just go with the flow and you can go, all right, I'm going to try to see a few things. And then I'll go with the flow and see what's happening. I don't know. I think that there's merits to both, but I'm more go with the flow now because I feel like you plan it out so every minute, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely, I think, and I'm sorry I keep comparing it to Comic-Con, but it really...
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best years of Comic-Con is just where I didn't have a plan. And, right. I just kind of went with the flow. And at a certain point, I did realize that, if I was strict with the plan, if I was strict with kind of a schedule, I would just get burnt out. So, I mean, I would check my email every day to see if a publicist gave me an opportunity or if a publicist got back to me. Mm-hmm. And if, I really wanted to see a movie and the publicist said, we don't have tickets, I would just, try to follow up with another one.
Go see. Yeah. You've got a lot of options.
Mm-hmm. And a few times, like a publicist would be like, I can meet you somewhere. Uh-huh. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going like, I'm not going to wake up early and try to hunt you down. And
well, I did one stupid thing, which was, I went with my friend Yuka Kobayashi and John Brandstetter.
Yuka's great.
Yeah, so she knew about some party in the hills that she could get a few people in, and we went to the Movie Pass party, which was at this weird giant mansion that had like an elevator. So it was kind of crazy. And that was kind of it was decadent. And then we got there and within less than an hour, they shut it down. So then we went to...
Why? Too many people there?
I don't know. I just think that's when the party ended. So I wish we'd gotten there earlier, but they weren't giving away. I was hoping they would have given away like vouchers for like Movie Pass, like a movie so I could try it out.
I have mine.
Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah, well, all right, don't say you love it. Let's get them as a sponsor on the podcast. That's one thing I have to say. We did not, originally my intention was to, get a sponsor to pay for our trip.
Yeah.
Because it's typical. Now it's sort of sliding back to, now that the Kickstarter money is long gone and Film Threat's relaunched and we're back, it's like, it's down to like money coming out of my pocket, right? So I paid for half the condo, and I guess our sponsor, could be called Gemmer, because Tom Bennett actually paid for the other half of the condo, so which allowed us to be able to afford to go. But next year, we definitely need to get a sponsor so that we can, bring more of our Film Threat team members, maybe do a bigger event and party, and have more people on the podcast too. I'd like to have more filmmakers on the podcast. So this was as a dry run though, for like 10 episodes of a podcast and, 4 or 5 reviews every day showing up on the site. And we're still actually wrapping up reviews, because we just keep getting publicists that like, hey, I missed you. It's like, well, we can still review your movie. I mean,
yeah,
I've
I've reviewed 2 movies post Sundance.
And also these movies don't go away. What's really exciting about it is Sundance kind of like sets the tone for the rest of the calendar year for film festivals. So festival directors from all over come to Sundance to look for movies to program for their festival. Mm-hmm. And then you see which ones get picked up for distribution and when they'll be coming out. So literally the movies that play at Sundance will then echo at film festivals throughout the year. And then in the fall get theatrical releases and then potentially be nominated for Oscars, which some of the Oscar nominated films fit that category, where they began life as a Sundance premiere, played other festivals, and then here they are, and we'll begin our Oscar coverage very soon, coming up.
It's my least favorite time of the year.
I mean, I've seen, I think only a few Oscar movies I haven't seen, but
I need to step up my game with the Oscar movies. I really haven't seen a lot.
Yeah, well, there's time. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, and I have my movie pass. I know.
Oh, you got movie pass. What are you doing? You should be jumping to the theater and go in there and just stay all day, man.
It's coming.
All right. Yeah. Well, we got to contact those movie pass people. They should be a sponsor, but
for sure. But that'd be great.
No, I'm really happy with the team, and including the people that stayed behind, like Brad Gibson and Alan Ng, who ran everything, and and
Alan did a great job.
And there are also some of our other writers who did reviews. Nick Rocco-Scalia, and just, Bill Arsenault, Dan Leibarger, just a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, and shout out to Matt Passantino, who was there with us. I think he said he saw 17 movies. Yeah. He was a workhorse, man.
Yeah.
So he was a beast.
So we'll still be, getting these. To me, it's kind of cool to read other writers' reviews on the site, because then that to me is like, oh, I'm gonna make sure to check that one out. I'm gonna see it. So, but the one film, I don't remember if I spoke about it on the podcast. I saw it kind of at the last minute, was this documentary called Hal, about
I think
Hal
you
Ashby.
mentioned it.
I mentioned it briefly, but it's Hal Ashby who directed the film. One of my all-time favorite movies, Harold and Maude. My mom,
I love that movie.
Yeah, my mom actually took me to a screening of it, which was weird, and then ended up being a midnight thing. And then I remember it was one of the very first movies I bought on VHS. For $79.95 retail. Anyway,
Jesus, man,
those were weird days. But
with inflation, that's so much.
I mean, Hal Ashby was such a force back in the day, and his movie. If you really see, I really think Harold and Maude, classic. But also, Being There with Peter Sellers is, I think, just such an incredible film about. The media more than anything. I mean, yes, about politics, but more than anything, it's about how we've been affected and dumbed down by the media, and much more relevant to today. So that documentary was just incredible. So, I probably did talk about it, but it's one of those ones that I can't stop thinking about, because there's not a lot of for those movies that were made in that era, in the 70s, that kind of heyday of American filmmaking, there's not a lot out there about those films. It's not as if they were producing special features on
no EPKs.
No EPKs, but what's weird is the stuff that will surface. For example, there's there'll be these featurettes where MGM presents a preview to the National Theater Owners Association of America, a preview of an exciting new science fiction adventure, Logan's Run. And you'll see a weird, and it wasn't intended to be a DVD behind the scenes. It was trying to convince theater owners to put the movie Logan's Run in theaters, but that's all that existed. There weren't any special features. I mean, I'm sure I mentioned this on the podcast before, but like to me, like movie novelizations were kind of like deleted scenes for movies because those novelizations included scenes that were in the original script or in the original rough assembly of the movie, but not in the final cut of the movie.
Yeah.
So
comic book adaptations too. I remember reading to bring up Star Wars again, reading the Star Wars adaptation that Marvel did, and like all the special edition stuff was in there, like with Jabba the Hutt. But Jabba the Hutt kind of looked like this weird walrus character.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone do, because someone just did. I don't know. I'll have to post it on social media or something. Someone did a Star Wars trailer as if it was done with the original designs that were done by Ralph McQuarrie, the original paintings.
Oh, that's incredible.
And so someone did. I'd love to see someone do like a fan film that's based like if Star Wars was done Marvel style, with Luke with like, just like his shirt's open like a
the buffness,
buff Luke Skywalker, where he's got the like tight pants. I mean, you know how they kind of just drew everybody the same, like, we'll just draw on these Star Wars characters like superheroes.
Was that before they cast like Mark Hamill and stuff like that?
No. I'm sure all that stuff. Well, if you know anything about, we cannot divert into a conversation about Star Wars too much. I'm going to say this, and then we're moving on back to Sundance. But it was a licensing fiasco when Star Wars was coming out, and the way that even Kenner, there's a series on Netflix right now, The Toys That Made Us.
Oh my God, that's so good.
It's really good. So, but the licensing, they really were just crapping stuff out for the most part. They were really just like attaching Star Wars toys and branding to just garbage just to get it out. So, and I believe that the comic books were also a victim of that, based on kind of the original script and so whatever. So back to Sundance. How did we go down that rabbit hole and we cannot do it?
There
needs to be a penalty.
Yeah. I take,
yeah, you did it. We were supposed to talk about indie film. We're going to talk about.
I take responsibility for that one.
Wrap up our Sundance experience.
Usually it's you. I take responsibility.
It's usually me. It is usually. I am usually the guilty party. But it really just felt good. Like I kind of felt like it was weird. Like I kind of felt like I'm back. It was a weird comfortableness,
like reinvigorated, like kind of like, because you said that kind of happens, like you kind of get inspired.
Well, here's what happens at Sundance is you get inspired. You get like this weird, like whatever it is, maybe everyone, and don't let them lie to you. Everyone has an idea for a movie that they'd like to make. Every single person. The person who told me that was Rod Lurie, actually. He goes, don't let the critics like fool you. Every movie critic is like, I have a movie that I'd like to make someday. So, but in the case of like, because we had this conversation once, Rod Lurie, a filmmaker who was originally started as a film critic for Los Angeles Magazine. And he said, interestingly, that when you look at the people who cover politics or you look at the people who cover sports, sportscasters or whatnot, like they can't, I mean, you can criticize Tom Brady all you want, but you can't, I'm not going to be able to do Tom Brady's job. I would not do very well. I'm not going to armchair quarterback that. I would get destroyed. But in film critics have crossed over as filmmakers. I've made films myself, and some have crossed over. And what's weird is, here's the one thing is weird, is the people who cross over from filmmaking to talking about film. And I can think of only one, Kevin Smith, which I don't get. I'm like, dude, just make movies, and just, I don't get why he wants to talk about movies. But I mean, I don't know. He's a legit movie nerd, and also his career was born from Sundance. He,
very much so. Yeah.
I mean, Sundance was part of, and so in any case, he had a very strong presence this year too. He was working like for the IMDb like web series. Yeah, there were a lot. What I liked is this. Let's say, for example, you don't have a Sundance badge and you go to Park City, Utah. It's now become like, and it was going this way, but what I like is that it used to be, here's another change that I just now that I'm thinking about this, that I noticed a lot of the stuff that was this offshoot stuff on Main Street and they're all things that really had nothing to do with the festival. And I think now, like the Legion M Lounge, which we were a part of, or we did that Film Threat live podcast and party, or, you know, the IMDb Lounge, or they had some other ones.
The Grey Goose one.
The Grey Goose one. They all were related to films. They were all related to, you know, hey, you can come see a panel. You can see filmmakers speak. You can see a conversation with this creative person.
Yeah, I spent hours watching Leonard Maltin interview people.
Oh, he was great.
Oh, he was
my God,
amazing.
he's great. We got to get Leonard on the podcast.
Yeah, and his daughter Jessie.
Oh no, she's cool. So yeah, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to get Leonard on the podcast
For sure, that'd be a dream come true.
But what's interesting is that it's less sort of this, you know, things that have nothing to do. It ties in. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think people get inspired because they look at like, hey, what is the creative thing? And it's not necessarily a movie. It could be a music album, or it could be a, you know, finding someone that you connect with creatively.
Yeah, I was just going to say a conversation. Like I had so many conversations with like-minded people.
Yeah, I had, other friends of mine come up to me and see me there and just like, oh my gosh, well, we got to do something. Like, what should we do? And I kind of felt like walking through there that I'm back. Like, it's been a year of Film Threat, you know, having returned as a website, and, you know, we're working to improve it. I'm not going to say it's there yet. I give myself like a C+ at the moment on the Film Threat web. I'm very hard on myself, by the way. I think that like it's you know, it's updated daily. There's like machines and things and you know, in motion, but it's nowhere near like what I dream it could be. So I think there's more work to do, but I kind of feel like, and I really did not do a lot of film festivals in 2017. I mostly did Comic-Cons, just limited. And I think this is the year that I'll get back to going to film festivals, you know, kind of my weekend thing. And get back into it. But the inspiration really comes to like, what do you want to do? You can do anything because you're surrounded by people that all like took an incredible risk that, you know, financially, you know, they, you know, completely derailed their lives to stop and make a thing with the belief that they could just present their ideas, to the world. That's a big risk. And you're seeing the best of that. You know, you're seeing people who really put it all on the line, and I really admire it. So being surrounded by it just makes me want to go do my own project and continue also to sing the praises of the best stuff that we've seen. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, we'll do it again. Let's do it. 2019 Film Threat will be back at the Sundance Film Festival. This wraps up our 10 episodes of coverage from Park City, Utah. Some before, some on the road, some from a bathroom floor, actually, with those wraparounds to kind of give context to. Because I think I fell asleep. I dozed off, actually.
Oh, dude, you totally
in the last episode, we were driving. Oh, my God. We were just exhausted. Yeah. That's, you know, it's that temptation to stop in Vegas on the drive to Park City.
Yeah, yeah. And the $20 all you can drink thing.
Yes, I thought that was a very good choice.
Oh, it's a hell of a deal, man.
It was a good deal. So until 2019, well, hey,
can't wait, man.
If you are a sponsor, we'd love to have you help us out next year. Go and expand what we're doing in Park City at Sundance.
Throw out our email address.
Yeah, filmthreatgore@gmail.com. Contact us. Here comes the plane.
I don't think it's showing up.
Take us on a trip. But no, and the other thing is, you know what? We gave away a lot of those hats in Park City. Our Film Threat Sucks patch. We're on these ski hats. We've got these sort of skull caps. They look really cool. Each one is kind of different. So I think we're going to sell those. I think we'll be launching a Patreon very soon. And the first thing that we'll be giving away as part, if you sign up for the Patreon, will be these hats. We haven't done any of this yet. I'm just saying that stay tuned or email me at filmthreatgore@gmail.com and I'll put you on the list to be the first to know, because we've got maybe 10, 15 of these hats left. And I'd like to, give them to listeners of of the podcast.
They are very snug. They literally saved my life the second day when all hell broke loose and the snow came down.
Oh my God. And I'll give you one that I wore. Hey. You can have a used one. If you make a special request, I will use it before I send. It's probably going to actually make it worth less.
You can pick out some Chris Gore hair and maybe clone him.
Yeah.
When the technology gets there. We just cloned a monkey. So
when did that happen?
Like a week ago, I think. Yeah, well, so cloning a Chris Gore, is completely plausible.
All right, but I thank you for listening to all these episodes.
Thank you so much.
Hope you continue to listen to the Film Threat podcast and follow us on all social media, Film Threat. And let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.